Earth Day, April 22nd, 2018, marks the 20th birthday of Disney's Animal Kingdom Park. I can't believe it because I came on board starting to work at Disney's Animal Kingdom in June of 1998. So 20 years ago, it all started for me. 20 years ago this weekend, I knew that I was working at Disney's Animal Kingdom. I knew that I was going to be a custodial host there. What I did not know is that would springboard me eventually, it took a while, to a career as a Disney specialized travel agent, then an agency owner, and a podcast host. So yeah, 20 years ago this weekend, it all started. Hard to believe that it's been 20 years since I started my first job with Walt Disney World, but I just wanted to say really quickly again before the show starts, thank you so much for listening to the show. I hope you're enjoying it. I hope it's a lot of fun. I've heard from an awful lot of people lately that they are enjoying it, so it makes me so happy to hear that. It's exciting and it's fun, and yeah, so just thank you. Thank you so much for listening. I am absolutely thrilled that you are enjoying the show, thrilled that you come back each and every week, and I'm so excited to bring you this week's Ear to There Disney podcast.
From the Ear to There Travel Studio, this is the Ear to There Disney podcast.
The Ear to There podcast, it's time to start the show. Be sure to hold on tight, here we go. Exploring all the different Disney destinations. Ear to There, it's time to start the fun.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Ear to There Disney podcast. I'm your host Phil Gramlich. I am also the owner and the founder of Ear to There Travel, which is a Disney specialized travel agency. It is my job to take away all that stress, all that anxiety, and all that time that it takes to plan a Disney trip so you can focus on the fun things like having a great time with your family and friends and enjoying the magic. And I do all that absolutely at no extra cost to you. So from booking and getting you the best possible deal in your hotel room or your package reservation, to setting up fast passes, dining reservations, special event tickets, transportation, flights, golf tee times, you name it, I'll do it. I do all of that for free. That's right, no extra cost to you. So think of me as your guide. Think of me as the Timon or the Pumbaa to your Simba. Yeah, I might be gross once in a while or tell an off-color joke here or there. I couldn't get through that. But I will still do absolutely everything I can within my power to help you so that you have no worries. See what I did there? Okay. You can find this podcast, the blog, or request a free, no obligation quote over at eartotheretravel.com. This is episode number 120 for the week of Earth Day, April 22nd, 2018. Now, grab a drink, grab a snack, and as a famous mouse once said, on with the show. And of course, I'm going to start off this show like we start off every show, and that is with the What About Bob segment of the show. So each and every week, Disney legend and retired Imagineer Bob Gurr comes on to answer your questions. And if you don't know who Bob is, well, he's a legend. He created the monorails on both coasts, the Matterhorn, the Doom Buggies, actually the whole Omnimover system, the Main Street vehicles, the People Mover vehicles. The list just goes on and on and on. To get a question into Bob for him to answer on the show, please call the voice line. That is 267-551-1971. Oh, and each and every week, the What About Bob segment of the show is brought to you by the Waltland Bus Tour. That's WALTLAND. Each and every month, Bob Gurr takes a busload of guests around Southern California. You'll make stops in Hollywood, in Glendale, and in Burbank, visiting all the important spots in the history of this Disney company, but more importantly, in the life of its founder, Walt Disney. To get tickets for this tour, head over to www.waltland.com. All right, without further ado, here is the only Disney legend who knows if Walt Disney is actually cryogenically frozen under Disneyland. That's not true. I mean, everyone knows that Walt Disney is not cryogenically frozen under Pirates of the Caribbean. Or is he? No, he's not. He's not. Here we go with Bob's theme song.
It's What About Bob? Bob Gurr, the legend, creator of the Matterhorn, the monorails and the Haunted Mansion. What about Bob, the Disney legend?
All right, this next question is from Natalie in Anaheim. And Natalie says, "Hi, Bob. It's 2018. Why are the monorails so hot in Disneyland in the hot weather?"
Well, let's put it this way. I'm going to try to be as polite as possible.
Sure.
When I designed the original Mark I monorail, and starting in 1958, 2 years before that, I had designed the little Viewliner train, which the body looks a little bit similar. And of course, everybody's very aware of the climate in Southern California. It gets kind of cold in the wintertime and gets pretty doggone hot in the summertime. And then, we have wind and rain, but not all that much. So I opted for windows that were open. There was no glazing on the windows, just open. And that was fine in the wintertime. On cold days, you just wouldn't ride it that much. But in the case of the Mark I monorail, I did the same thing as I did with the Viewliner. We had to air condition the nose and the tail, obviously, because they're enclosed. But we didn't have space or weight available to put air condition the cars. The second year, what we did, I made some windows that we could attach with little thumb screws. A very simple thing. You just put the window up there and just snap it in. And so we had like winter windows, which worked really good. We could just put the winter windows on when we need it, and otherwise take them off. Then on the Mark III monorail, which was an all-new design, I designed that with windows that were you could raise and lower the windows, and I arranged it so that the maintenance people would have a little hand tool. You just walk up and put the crank in the little hole and wind the window up or down as you need it. So that way, it made great sense because we can be wide open all the time when it's hot, and then we could roll it up a bit in the winter time. That was fine. Then comes the design team that started, I believe, about 2002, I think, started designing the Mark VII. And this was a professional organization led by a project manager with coordinators and fully licensed engineers and draftsmen. And they came up with a design that was totally enclosed. And it didn't seem to make any sense to anybody, but somehow they found out right away that if the day is even slightly warm, it's way too hot in the train. So they put little scoops in the roof, and then after a while they did some other stuff, and then pretty soon they kept monkeying around with more stuff, and they've been revising windows and interiors quite some time, as well as the mechanical electrical systems have been in revision now for 10 years. They're still working on it. So I can only explain that when you have a fast-moving company led by Walt Disney, where you have one designer and maybe one or two engineers helping a little bit and 5 draftsmen, you can go straight to the answer that you need. But today, in today's world, large organizations will be highly organized. We'll have you have to be a licensed mechanical engineer to do a thing like that today. But it puzzles people as to, well, with all of that, how come it's so much harder to design a monorail today than it was a long time ago? And I really don't have the answer, except there are, I guess, sociological, organizational changes over time that make what sounds simple actually complicated and not work well.
Almost like you said, I talked to you a couple months ago, you talked about why processes don't work when creating something like, that requires that imagination. When it has to go get approved by so many people, it kind of changes around a lot.
Yeah, I think I see that in a lot of industries where you have, let's say, inspired people who champion a project all the way to its opening night or whatever. Those things seem to just zip right along and everybody's happy.
Well, there you go. That answers the question as to why the monorails have no air conditioning out in Disneyland. I actually noticed that on my last trip last summer with the kids. We were on there and it was rocking back and forth as we were riding into Tomorrowland. And I said to my wife, man, it is hot on here. I guess being Walt Disney World regulars, we're not always used to the heat in Anaheim and just how hot those monorails can get in the summer. But man, they get really hot. So thank you again to Natalie for your question. And thank you, as always, to Bob for answering. Remember, if you have a question for Bob, please call the voice line 267-551-1971. Or you can email it to me at phil@eartotheretravel.com. All right, here we go. It is time for episode number 120. This episode is being released on Earth Day, April 22nd, 2018. It is so hard to believe that Disney's Animal Kingdom is 20 years old. I say it with an accent. I know I say 20. I mean 20. You know what I mean. But it is that age. And in the 2 decades since it's been opened, the park has had some ups, some downs, mostly ups. And it has grown both literally and figuratively. And the vegetation has grown literally and figuratively and made it kind of a hot park, but I digress. Anyway, this week is all about the first 20 years of Disney's Animal Kingdom, the worst and the best. Here to talk about the first 20 years, that's unbelievable to me, by the way, of Disney's Animal Kingdom with me. Did I say that right? Yeah, that's right. Is a man who never tried the mac and cheese hot dog over at Restaurantosaurus, or he never eats the pizza at Pizzafari. Mr. Chuck Rodriguez, welcome back to the podcast.
Thank you very much. And nope, I never will.
No, you know what? I was thinking of all the foods that you've missed out on over the years, and Animal Kingdom has a bunch of like cheesy foods that you'll never eat. It's a shame.
Actually, but ironically enough, and I was thinking about Pizzafari, because when Pizzafari first opened, their crust was different. It was like, I want to say it was semolina. I don't know if I'm saying that right.
I think isn't that a fish?
No, it's not a fish. It's like a type of grain.
I don't know food.
I actually did the Pizzafari pizza, the one that was, I guess, like their version of Supreme, that had a lot of toppings and stuff. It was actually my only pizza on property that I would eat, because I did not mind the taste of cheese. But then they changed it, and now there's only like 3 choices, and they all come with Caesar salad that has Parmesan all over the place, and I never eat there anymore. Never.
I like that. I like their Caesar salad's good. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Welcome back to the show. It's been a while. Chuck, I actually got emails, and this isn't a joke, from listeners saying, where the heck is Chuck? I got them in the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, I better get him back on. But you're a hard guy to get on the show. You got all those, you got your other commitments, you got your TV and your podcasting, so it's hard to get you on.
But, luckily there's been season finales of most of my favorite shows in the past couple of weeks, so now there's time. So
now you're free. I know you're a big TV guy. Give me one show that you've been watching lately that's really good. I barely watch anything because we're in playoff time with the Sixers and the Flyers right now. But give me your top one.
That English you just said? I don't know what language.
Give me your top TV show right now.
Top 3?
Yeah, just top 1 or 2.
Well, ABC's Scandal just finished, so I was very loyal to Scandal. I watched every episode from the first all the way, till this last episode that just aired a couple days ago, 7 years later. And I still watch Big Bang Theory religiously every single Thursday, even though it's on its 10th season.
Yeah, it's been around.
And of course, the thing I'm looking forward to the most is season 2 of Westworld starting tomorrow.
That's tomorrow?
Yes, tomorrow.
Oh, I had no idea. I loved the first season of Westworld.
Yeah, I knew you. I remembered that you loved it too.
Yeah, I was talking about you. We were talking about maybe starting a Westworld podcast. We didn't do that.
Yeah.
So that's fine. But good thing we didn't do it because it's not like I have any time to do it now.
No, and to be honest, even just last night when I was reading an article on an entertainment blog of somebody who just listed the 15 questions they want answered from season 1 that hopefully season 2 will answer. And these people go into so much detail, so much intellectual detail of I don't remember any of these things.
Yeah, your head's
I know they've occurred, but I don't remember any of it. I can't break down a show that intellectually. I just can't do it.
I remember there were robots. That's pretty much all I remember. So this is going to be interesting for season 2 for me. Anyway, all right. So you presented this topic to me, and I thought this was an awesome idea. So I wanted to do it right away, and I'm actually going to put it out on Earth Day tomorrow. We're recording the day before Earth Day. I want to put it out on Earth Day because the shows usually come out on Mondays, but this is cool to have it come out on the 20th anniversary
that makes sense.
of Disney's Animal Kingdom. So I'm excited for it. And you presented it to me as the best and the worst of Disney's Animal Kingdom over the first 20 years. So I made lists. And then before I hit record, you were like, I don't have a list. I just, you were like, I'm just here to talk. So this should be an interesting, because I literally have a little, a list in a document in front of me. So should I start with my first one?
Definitely start.
And then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah.
All right. So I want to go with my worst things first. I think and I hope if that's okay with you, you can too. Let's start it on the bad note and then end it on a high note, if that's okay.
What happened? All of mine are bad.
Are they?
I'm feeling extra negative and cynical lately. It's
Oh,
not the
great.
theme parks. It's just my hemorrhoids. But still.
Great. All right. Well, hey, if that's then you'll have to just listen along as I say my best ones at the end. So, all right. So my first worst of the first 20 years of Disney's Animal Kingdom was the original Big Red dark ending of Kilimanjaro Safaris. So I don't know, Chuck, if you had a chance to do it. I never saw this live. But okay, so
You mean when you actually the version where you actually saw the carcass of Big Red?
Yeah, so it wasn't all that long ago that the powers that be changed the storyline of the Kilimanjaro Safaris from the Board of Matua, Simba 1, Poacher storyline. Remember, I see you down there. Be careful. Do not run into my animals. That was my best Board of Matua impression.
That's at least 5 of the items I was going to talk about today. It's just his quotes. Just his quotes.
Yeah, well, it's fun to do the guy's voice. It's hilarious. I'm so bad at it. I'm so bad at voices and impressions that it's almost good. Too. I'm so bad that it's nearly it's listenable because it's bad. But anyway, I get why they've removed that part of the storyline. Right? They want to focus more on the animals. It gives the driver of the safari vehicle a lot more time to tell you about the animals, about the conservation, about their habitats, what they eat, what they all that stuff. So I get it, but I was still sad to see it go because it was there when I worked there, and it was very it was kind of close to my heart. But whatever, I don't make decisions in Walt Disney World, contrary to what some of the emails I get from people who ask me to make changes. I have to explain to some listeners that I don't actually run the parks these days.
They get confused, do they?
What's that?
They're confused.
Sometimes. Not many. No, I don't get many, but once in a while I'll get one. A Facebook message or a tweet or an email that says, what you have to do is get rid of that blah, blah, blah in this park. And I'm like, I don't make decisions. That's not me.
I'm always surprised, and no matter what job I have in any company, I'm always surprised, even if it's high up, I'm surprised people actually think that I either care or that I actually have a chance to change something.
All right, moving on. I should have known when he said you were feeling extra cynical today. So
that's where I was going.
Yeah. So, okay, but there was an original, like you mentioned, a dark ending of the attraction where, so in the storyline that we lost a few years ago, Big Red, who was an elephant and the matriarch of the family, was with Little Red, which was her calf, and they got captured by poachers. And the driver asks the guests on the vehicle during the attraction, "Are you ready to go stop some poachers?" And everybody's like, "Yeah." Or some people were like, "Yeah, all right." Like it wasn't like, it wasn't as thrilling a few years ago as it was when it first opened. But there was a really cool, like the driver would speed up the vehicle and you'd run through the poachers' camp, and there was a plane and gunshots, and it was fun. So you originally would, they would say Big Red got away, and then, not originally, but then, and you found Little Red. But when the attraction was in previews before the official opening, they had Big Red was killed by the poachers, and they had a dead Big Red carcass on the side of the road that you would drive by. Like, who thought that would be a good idea? What you're gonna have to explain to your 2-year-old or 3-year-old what death is, and there's a dead elephant on the, like, that's a bad idea. So that was removed. I believe it was before opening day. But if you want to see it, like if you're morbid and creepy like I am, and you want to see a picture of the Big Red, the foe, it's not a real dead elephant, obviously, but if you want to see a picture of it, if you do a little Google search, you can find it. There are pictures out there still of a dead elephant, not a fake elephant again, but a dead one on the side of the road. So, yeah, that was not Animal Kingdom's most shining moment, I don't think, to say the least.
I don't think listeners are going to be surprised about this. I have never understood the controversy over this. Has every single Disney animated film of all time has an adult that a child loves dies.
But you don't see it.
I never understood the problem.
But you never see it. You don't see the dead adult laying there. Like, that's never happened.
Well, but I don't know. I do miss the storyline. I think it's boring now, the safaris. I go on it very, very infrequently now. I don't care to just drive around and just hear about what the animals, how much grass they eat per day. I really did enjoy the storyline, and I thought it made sense. Disney theme parks are about stories. They're not, if I wanted to just hear, how much gazelles eat per day, then I would go to the actual zoo.
You raise a good point.
I felt very strongly against how they changed it.
No, it's a good point, and you're right on with that. The parks are all about stories. Everything tells a story, and they lose that element when they got rid of it. I mean, you still are on a 2-week safari. That storyline is still there. They still make those jokes, and
that part is so believable.
Right. Yeah. I wonder if this is what people have missed about you, is me coming on and being all jolly, and you coming on and being like, "No, I'm here to burst your bubble. You're wrong. You stink."
Well, here's a jolly part. The other part I miss about the Big Red, Little Red, is that every single time I was on it and they would start talking about Big Red, I would start humming the Big Red Gum theme song. Big Red freshness goes right through you. Your fresh breath goes on and on.
While you chew it. Yeah, I didn't remember that song. Yeah,
I would start humming it every single time. I could not get it out of my head every time I heard Big Red.
All right. Well, that's an interesting turn for the show so far. Yeah. All right. So how do you want to play this? Do you want to play something that was a bad decision, or do you want me to just keep going and we'll just talk about mine, or how do you want to play it?
Well, no, I guess I'll just comment on the ones that ironically last night that all of this was gathered, information was gathered at a dinner of people who either worked at Disney or have annual passes, but we were at Universal at the time. So, but we had this long conversation and we had some pretty interesting stuff that everybody remembered.
I don't know what you were talking about. What? What
Universal, which is about to have 3 parks plus a water park.
And it'll still be trailing by millions of visitors per year because.
No, I don't disagree. I never have. But,
listen, I like Universal a lot. I worked there as well. I really do like it. I enjoy the parks. I think they did a great job. But it just service wise, it's secondary. It's second place.
Yeah, service wise, it certainly is. But I do like that. I do appreciate the fact that it does force Disney to up their game.
Agreed completely. Yeah.
And actually, let me just skip to the one most negative, but the one that I'm sure everybody realizes, even if they don't want to accept it, is that the most negative thing for me about Animal Kingdom, and I was there opening day, so I was there exactly 20 years ago yesterday, and it's the only Disney park, obviously, because I know it's a big deal for Disney fans to go on opening day to at least one Disney park in your life, so I guess that one was probably mine, although I suppose technically I still have time to do another one, but anyway.
Technically? Wait a minute. Did you just age 25, 30 years that I didn't know, I wasn't aware
of?
I hope
so, but we'll have to see how many other Disney parks will open between now and then.
All right.
Animal Kingdom set the precedent that for the many Disney parks that opened afterwards, in the next 20 years afterwards, except for Tokyo Disney Sea and for Shanghai Disneyland, that Disney parks can open with like 2 rides in it, and that's good enough. $100 a day, 2 rides, you're welcome. So I know some people say technically Disney MGM Studios did that, but I think it's fair to say that when Disney MGM Studios opened, they were very clear that it was a very quick tour because the main purpose of the park was actually to film stuff.
Right, so it was
I don't
a studio.
think it's fair to say it was the studios. I think it's fair to say Animal Kingdom started that horrible precedent where every Disney park afterwards opened with like 3 attractions and still cost $100 and they expect you to stay there for 10 hours a day.
All right, I get it. I guess Animal Kingdom opening day had what? We had Safari.
It had 3 rides. Phil.
So Discovery Riverboats were...
Yes, which I wouldn't count. So when I say 3 rides, I mean rides that people actually want to go on.
Okay. All right. Listen. So that's your negative. I'll give you that. So this is a great, so far, very happy Animal Kingdom episode.
Well, it's not. It's a big deal. It was a turning point in Disney theme park history.
No, you're right.
And look what wound up happening. Now they're pumping over $1 billion into each of those crappy parks that opened that even Animal Kingdom itself. Each one, they've had to pump in at least $1 billion to improve it and to not make it what it was on.
Yeah, I mean, look at Disney California Adventure, what they did to that park.
And Animal Kingdom and the Walt Disney Studios park in Paris, they've all had to basically eat their. No, I can't even think of the expression I was going to say. Eat crow. Oh yeah, eat crow, I guess. And they've had to go ahead and change it.
Yeah, eat their crow.
I don't know where I was going with that one.
Yeah, but no, you're right. Listen, you are totally right about that. And,
I'm always right, Phil.
And they have Disney's put a ton of money into these parks after the So okay, so I'm going to go on to my next one. Which
of course.
And mine are a little more lighthearted. So
Well, I'm not surprised, and I will somehow turn them dark.
Yeah. So all right, so this one for me was another tough one in Animal Kingdom, and it was the open air version of the theater in the wild. A lot of us remember know that theater now as Finding Nemo the musical, and that's where you go, and it's air conditioned, and it's nice, and it's dark, and the music is great, and the performers are amazing, and the costumes are phenomenal. But originally, that theater was an open air theater for the shows. Do you remember the Journey into the Jungle Book show? It was there very briefly. I think it was less than 2 years. And then the Tarzan Rock show, which is a really great show.
Yes, it was.
That was an excellent show. The problem was that theater for 8 months out of the year was just disgustingly hot to sit in and watch a show. And I used to sit there and watch the performers like on the rollerblades and acrobatics and think, oh my God, these guys have to be dying. Because we would sit there. I remember my family and I, in the early 2000s, my parents, my brother, my sister, and I went on like a week-long trip. We used to do that like every year for years. And we went, and it was before I think Amy and I even got together, but we were sitting in a theater, and it was, the pre-show. And, like most Disney theaters, most Disney shows, you get there early because you have to get a seat, and then you just sit and wait. And they had fans going, and it was so gross and so hot in there that we had to leave. And that wasn't just once. I mean, a couple of times we had to leave that theater. I just thought there was no air circulation. It was in a bad spot. And the park itself is hot. I mean, we've talked about that a million times. That park, for some reason, is always way hotter than the other parks. So my thing was that I was super, super happy when they enclosed the theater, and now they had to for that show because the Nemo show wouldn't work outside. But it's a much better experience, much better show. They fixed it. So yeah, that's kind of where I was going, was the stuff like that. So the open air theater to the wild theater in the wild. I'm sorry, changed to the enclosed theater in the wild is a much better experience. Even though, again, the Tarzan Rock show was great. The Jungle Book show wasn't great. It was fine. But the Tarzan show was awesome. So yeah, that was my second worst of Disney's Animal Kingdom's first 20 years. So I don't know what you have to add, but I'm interested.
Well, that come up last night, and there's nothing to add. I mean, you're absolutely right. Actually, what it really inspired is thoughts about the fact that 20 years ago, I was fine with the heat. I could walk around a theme park for 14 hours straight, and I could even eat ice cream all day long in order to keep me cool. Now I go into diabetic shock, and I could barely do 3 hours of walking in a park without my heels first.
That's just old, right? That just shows how old you are.
What?
I said that just shows. Yeah, it's just age.
I'm owning my age. I'm owning it.
Yeah.
But yes, no. The shows, Jungle Book and Tarzan Rocks, were great shows. But the theater was just so uncomfortable, and I'm glad they also enclosed the Festival of the Lion King theater too when they moved it.
Yeah, that's another experience. That's a great show. It's a great show for a show that was supposed to be a temporary thing. Because again, when the park opened, you were right, there wasn't enough to do. And they had these Lion King floats sitting around, and they were like, we'll make a show out of it. That's literally what they did to make that show. They had the floats from the parade, and they put, Timon and Pumbaa out there and some acrobats, and there you go, and some singers, and it's a phenomenal show. What's that? I'm sorry.
It took like 10 minutes to design that show.
No, it really did, and look how many. I mean, I don't know how many performances it's had, but it's had a lot. We've seen it a bunch. It continues to be maybe the most popular show in that park, and it's a great show. It's really, really good, and. Yeah, it was a great idea to enclose that theater. They built a new theater, right? That wasn't the same. That's not the same theater.
No, they didn't move the theater.
No. I know. I meant they didn't enclose it. That was a new.
Oh! I think they meant the Lion King theater. Yeah. I guess they just enclosed it. The infrastructure was already there.
Yeah. So anyway, they didn't. No, they didn't go like 45 guys pick it up and move it to a different part of the park. But yeah, all right. So we're kind of in agreement on that one, then, I guess. Yeah, and they just like anything else, like they figured it out. Like when the safari first opened, there were all kind of protests and problems, and sadly, a few animals were killed from things like disease, and the safari vehicles ended up hitting a couple of the birds. I mean, it was difficult for Disney to figure it out, but they figured it all out. Except, I think I told this story on the podcast before, but I'll use her name. I don't think she even listens to the podcast. My friend, one of my best friends, like in the entire world, my friend Pat, and I know he doesn't listen, but maybe he will listen to this episode. He was on a college program. He and his they weren't married yet, but his wife Barb, they were on a college program with me. She was a safari driver over at the Kilimanjaro Safaris. And it just so happened that Pat and I were on a safari, on one of her safaris one day, and Pat just so happened to have a video camera with us. So he wanted to video Barb's safari and kind of for her to keep and have as a little memento and for fun. So we made the turn onto the savannah, and there was a giraffe in the road. And that happens all the time, right? You've seen it.
Yeah.
And she did a little spiel, like she told you about the giraffe and what, was unique about it and whatever. So she beeped the horn. Giraffe didn't move. She inched a little closer, beeped the horn again. Giraffe didn't move. So you got to go. Eventually that thing has to get out of the way because you got to move. There's a track, there's vehicles behind you. So she inched a little closer and she's maybe 2-3 feet away from this giraffe. And she beeped the horn again. And it spooked the giraffe. And the giraffe jumped like a startled person would jump. And it smashed into the vehicle.
Oh.
So we were all and my friend's filming this, and we're all on the vehicle, and it's like, boom. I mean, I don't know how much a giraffe weighs, but it's not a little animal.
No.
And it crashed into the front of the vehicle, and then it took off running. And as it hit the vehicle, all the guests in the vehicle started screaming in terror. That she didn't hit the thing hit the car, but oh my God, it was it. And I don't mean to laugh. The giraffe was fine, but we make fun of her to this day that she ran over a giraffe on the safari. Like it's a lot of fun. Anyway, that's a story. I don't think I told that. Had you heard that story before?
No, I don't believe so. And I've met Pat and Barb before, but no, that story's never come up.
Yeah, so now when you see Barb, you'll have to tell her, I've seen the video of you running down that giraffe that day. But yeah, so, all right, so I'm going to just keep going through my list because this seems to be the way we're going to do it. So,
okay.
My next one that I had on my list was, and I think you and I have talked about this in the past. And listen, I'm all for new and interesting snack options, right? I like Disney stepping outside the box and offering things like escargot at Food and Wine Festival. I've tried different things during Food and Wine and Flower and Garden that I probably wouldn't try elsewhere. But in 2015, you still with me there? I heard a beep. Chuck, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, sorry. There was something buzzed on your end. So in 2015, in the Africa section of the park, Zuri's Sweet Shop started selling, animal dropping inspired treats. Do you remember these?
Yeah, you've talked about this before. You're a little obsessed.
I am obsessed.
I remember hearing about them, but I never tried them. I never tried it.
So I am obsessed because I think it was a really bad decision. I don't know who was sitting in that meeting and was like, hey, you know what we really need to sell? Poop treats. Like, we should sell those. Because they literally, they were inspired by giraffe, elephant, rhino, and tamarin droppings. And you would buy them, and it's literally what they look like. They give it to you in a little paper cup, and it looked like they would mix in things like oats and peanut butter and pretzels and brownies, and it looked like it looked exactly like it. And it was a really weird and strange decision on the people who are in charge of the park to sell those things. And people loved them. They were buying them, but then a lot of people complained, so they had to get rid of them. I think they were out a few weeks, and that was it. But I thought that was a really interesting one, and I wanted to make sure I made sure I mentioned it because I don't know if I would eat something that looked like animal droppings.
Yeah, but that was the whole point. It was a challenge. It was always going to be for only a specific demographic who thought it would be funny to try that. So I'm actually surprised that they pulled it.
Yeah, the complaints, you know how Disney is. There's been a lot of things they've done recently that people have complained about that they haven't changed, like the parking and some stuff like that. But none of them had cheese in them, but they did have peanut butter. So I'm not surprised that you steal.
Right, I wouldn't have tried it just because of that. But no, I would have tried something that looks like poop just for a laugh. Sure, why not?
Now, granted, I didn't get to try them, but if I had my kids with me, I would definitely do that in front of my kids. Right. Like that would be the best. I wouldn't even tell them it was a snack. I would just eat it and freak them out. I mean, I do
like
that.
Put it on the ground and then pretend like you just found it.
Yeah. What's this?
Yeah. I'm sure there were parents who did that.
Oh yeah, man. Like I do weird stuff like that with my kids all the time. Like we go to Pizzeria Uno because it's one of the places that actually serves Kraft mac and cheese with my daughter. This is like the only mac and cheese she'll eat. So we go there and they give the kids a little pile of cold, like a mound of cold dough to play with, and you're supposed to shape it into things, and then they cook it for you as a dessert. They put like butter and cinnamon and sugar on it. My kids really don't eat it; they just kind of play with it. But I will eat the cold, uncooked dough just to freak them out. I've done it a couple of times. And it's probably not good for you. I don't know. But it's probably going to die from that one time. But for a joke, it's awesome. Yeah, there's got to be raw egg in there, right?
I guess, yeah.
That can't be good for you. All right, so before I get over to talking about the best of Disney's Animal Kingdom over the first 20 years. Do you have anything else that you want to mention about the worst of?
Yeah, the Discovery River boats.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that was so boring. I remember going on an opening day. Well, opening day, everything was exciting. So, we were excited regardless. But then as reality started to hit, as we went back and back and back, we're like, okay, why does this exist? And I love, like, towards the end when they really were about to give up and they would do things like just have a random person in the boat with you with, like, a tarantula in a box so they can talk to you about it while you're on the boat.
Yeah, they did do stuff like that. Yeah, it became the...
And, like, they were pretending that they record a Radio Disney show from the boat as the boat goes around.
Yeah, that was bad.
Oh, man, that was bad.
That was bad. And we've talked about before, that attraction had no chance from the get-go. It had no chance. It wasn't transportation. It wasn't an attraction. It was neither. It was just and people thought they were getting on Jungle Cruise, They thought they were getting on something where they were going to see like live animals on the water, and there was just nothing to see.
Nope.
There was like fire that came out of a cave that they said there was a dragon.
Highlight our show.
Yeah, like the simplest effect ever. That's called Disney ran out of money.
Well,
like,
that was them desperate to add something else on the map, so it didn't look like there was only 2 rides, and you're spending $100 to go on only 2 rides for 4.
Yep. Well, yeah. I mean, listen, I can't argue with that because it's true.
It's true.
But you can still see little pieces of it. Like you can still see.
Well, the docks are.
The docks are still there, and then there's the dragon's head and the rocks. It's still over by Pandora. That used to have the fountain, like the water used to come out of the dragon's mouth. That's still over there. Yeah, and we didn't even mention Camp Mini Mickey, which was, successful for what it was.
Again, filler. It was filler.
Yeah, when I remember when I first got to the park, when I first started working there, and they told me, I started working a couple months after opening day, and they told me, hey, this is a temporary land. It's only going to be here until, Beastly Kingdom or whatever else is built comes in. And almost, 15 years later, 16 years later, it was still there. So that was a filler land that had not a whole lot to it. It was where the Tarzan, Festival of the Lion King show was. But yeah, that didn't have a whole lot.
In the Pocahontas show where...
Yeah, Pocahontas and her forest friends, yeah.
Oh, like rabbits and skunks and talk to you about
Yeah, it was, again, not Disney's best moment. You see that stuff at your local school, like they bring in rabbits and skunks, and this is a squirrel.
Granted, the person doing the show locally would not look like Pocahontas, but still.
No. They had to... Anyway, Pocahontas had to do a lot of work to learn about her forest friends before that show started. Anyway, all right, let's move on to the good stuff. And not the talking about...
There's good stuff?
Not the talking about... I'm going to ignore that comment. Not the talking about the bad stuff wasn't fun, because it is. But all right, the good stuff. So I'm going to start it off. And this isn't an opening day attraction, so you can't give me too much grief about it. But of course, it is. It was added in 2006, April 2006, and it remains one of the best attractions Disney Imagineers have ever built. Of course, it's Expedition Everest. So, listen, Broken Disco Yeti aside, it is, and that could be another one on the bad list, but everything about the attraction is still, to me, phenomenal. You can see how much time and research and everything that the Imagineers put into the detail of things like the queue and the attraction itself. And, like, the queue is so detailed and so, like, story-oriented that I almost don't want to use a Fast Pass. Notice I said almost, because I've been through there a bunch. Well, so I will use my Fast Pass there, especially because now we have Daredevils in. My girls will both ride that. Jack, our son, won't ride it. He refuses. He went, you know what it was? He went on Splash Mountain once, and it scared the pants off him, and that's it. Like, for now, he's done with full rides. His favorite attraction is Winnie the Pooh. Like, he's done. But hopefully he gets over that at some point. But, so like the first few times I went on it, on Everest, the Yeti was still functioning and And it was a really amazing thing to see him swinging his arm at you and hanging off like the side of the rocks as you went by. I feel bad for people who didn't get to see it, but I also I almost feel like you don't know what you're missing because you never saw it, so it's not that big of a deal. I'd like them to fix it eventually. I still think, but apparently you'd have to shut down the whole thing for months and months and months. So what I read was that they were waiting for Pandora to kind of to hit and be a big deal, and then it would do it and fix it, but who knows. One thing on Everest that I love that nobody really knew about back in 06, 05 when it was undergoing previews and then it was open, because the internet was a thing, it was a big thing, but it wasn't, again, it's as big as it is now where there's every little thing is analyzed, was the backwards part of the coaster. I don't remember knowing that it went backwards before I went on it for the first time. So that was a really cool thing. So yeah, I think that still stands the test of time. It's still a great attraction, 12 years later. I don't know what you think.
I have nothing to add. It is my favorite out of all of the Disney roller coasters, and it continues to be. I did not get to see it until 2010, so it was post Real Yeti, and every time I go on it now, I start singing Disco Yeti. Ooh, ooh. But anyway,
we got to make a shirt. I need to make a Disco Yeti shirt with my logo on the back.
I'm sure somebody Etsy already has, but okay, so we can come up with our own version.
Yeah.
I have nothing bad to say about Expedition Everest. It is my favorite out of the four coasters. I always, I love the backwards part and how it curves so that it literally takes my breath away for a few seconds. You know what I hate though is obviously some annoying teenage.
I know where you're going with this. I hate it too. Go ahead.
What is it with that? That obviously it's like the pictures in front of the purple wall. Somebody did it, and now every teenage girl in America is obsessed with throwing their stupid hairbands onto the part before you start going backwards. What is that?
Yeah, where you see the broken track, and that drives me crazy. And I forget I had a listener put that on Facebook to me recently, and I wrote that I didn't like. I very, very rarely will respond negatively to anyone who listens to the show because I'm so appreciative, and it's an amazing thing that people will actually listen to me talk for an hour.
Delude yourself that being nice is a good thing.
We'll say it again.
And you delude yourself that being a nice person is actually a good thing in the end.
Hey, it works. It works for me, man.
I went past that delusion years ago. Past it.
So it works for me. All right. So that's just.
It does.
So I'm honored that people listen. It's an amazing thing that, I don't know how many people listen to the show every week, but it's a lot. So it's amazing. But I get mad about that. Like, it ruins the experience of that. It ruins that scene for me. Like, when you're up there, and I didn't notice it. I swear, Chuck, you and I rode, I think last year when I was in town for training, and I never had noticed it before because I was always looking at the broken track. And you were like, what do you mean you haven't seen the hairbands? And I was like, no, I've never seen them. And we rode together and you pointed them out. And now I can't ever stop staring at them when I'm up there. It makes me so mad that they're there. It really does. By the way, I have a great picture of you and I on this attraction. I'll try to remember to put it in the show notes for the show.
Huh?
And I'll email it to you. You look so bored on the on-ride photo. Your arms are crossed and you're just like sitting there like, excuse me. And I'm smiling like my big dorky Disney loving smile. And you're just like, all right, Everest.
It is my favorite ride. I enjoy it every single time. It's just that my smiles are on my inside now. They're on my inside.
So anyway, no, I agree with you. And somebody has to go clean those darn hairbands up. That's a pain. That's a pain.
Well, there's the 2 points that the hairbands always exemplifies. I mean, there's many examples of this over the years and always will be. But so being in operations, most of my career until last couple of years, I know that the only way to stop that being a thing is that you would have to have somebody every single night just vacuum up every single one, so that every day starts off without any of them, so that over time people like kind of forget that that's a thing and don't automatically do it.
Right.
But you would have to start every single day, and And I can't imagine that somebody does that every day. There's so many of them. I know that, 50,000 people probably ride that ride every single day. So technically there can be that many people who throw their hairband each day, but I don't think so.
And I would think the chances of you actually landing it on there are maybe 75% at best. Because a lot of them you have to miss or they slide down. But there literally are hundreds of them on there when you're on that attraction.
And this is the other thing that my entire life, being obsessed with theme parks, I always thought about this, and I know it's not a popular thought. Although I know over the years that a lot of people, technically one-on-one, will admit that they totally think this. They just won't say it much out loud. But theme parks are art. I don't see why a person has to put themselves onto the art. Like, obviously, whatever that person does to a theme park, whether they scratch a drawing into the wall while they're waiting in line on something, or something that they do to that park themselves, is not exciting to me whatsoever. I'm there because of what Disney did, not what that dumb tourist from wherever they're coming from has done to the park themselves. It's a very passionate thing about. I don't understand people. I don't understand why they think that's a thing, or that the other 40 million people a year that come to the parks is going to appreciate what they did. No, I only appreciate what the actual park owners and designers did. I don't appreciate what you're doing to it.
No, I agree. I couldn't agree more. And you're right. Like, so Joe Rohde, who was the lead Imagineer and designer on Everest, he built that scene in a certain way for you to experience that in a very specific way. And you're completely taken out of it when you see a million hairbands on the side of the mountain. Like, you're right. I completely agree with you. It's art. It was carefully drawn up on a storyboard and created and made a certain way. And the effect is ruined because people, and you listen, does it sound a little harsh? Probably, but I don't care. I agree with you. I think that
because what people don't like is that really what I mean is that there are times when a person's individualness does not matter whatsoever. And this is one of them. It's no different. To me, it's no different than if you went to a museum and you spray painted onto a painting that was made by Da Vinci 400 years ago. Yeah. It's no different.
I agree with you. I do.
And it also bothers me, like and of course it's always teenagers, because let's face it, all human beings between the ages of 13 and 18 are completely useless, and they should just be put away into some building where we don't see them for those 5 years. But like when they walk around the parks listening to their own music.
Oh, that bothers me too.
I mean, how much money was spent on background music that was picked perfectly for every single area of the park that you walk through? It's supposed to be a whole experience, but they only think that they are interesting. They're not interesting. They're not interesting whatsoever. No teenagers.
All right. Sorry, I'm like coughing. I'm laughing. Sorry. All right, let's move on. Excuse me. Let me move on. All right. You're right on some of those things. The other things you're not right on, but it's fine. All right, moving on to the next one. My next of the best things in Disney's Animal Kingdom over the first 20 years, and it's brand new. It's only a year old, so it might be way early to call it one of the best things in Animal Kingdom or the best things in Walt Disney World. But I sincerely believe one of the best things that's ever happened to Animal Kingdom and any theme park really is Avatar: Flight of Passage. And
I agree.
I know I think it's one of the best attractions that was ever made anywhere, period. Right? Anywhere. Okay. And I know there's the detractors that say, well, it's just a screen in 3D effects and you don't really move, you don't really go anywhere. You know what? Really? Like, really, is that what you think? Because I disagree completely. I've ridden that attraction a couple times. Every time I've ridden it, I've flown. Don't tell me I didn't fly, because I flew. I did. I flew. And that's all I have to say. Don't tell me that I didn't just fly. I felt the Doran Banshee breathing. I was on his back. I was flying over the ocean. I could feel the air. I could smell the water, the salt water. It's real. And I don't care. It's so well done. And I swear, I think the people who were like, well, no, it wasn't that great. I think they just like to go against everybody else. Like the people who were like, no, It's not as good as Soarin'. Are you crazy? It's not as good as Soarin'? Yes, it is. I'll never forget that when we got off I rode that first with Johnny Shortsleeve. When we got off the attraction, he looked at me and he goes, so the Imagineers who designed Soarin' 2.0 are so mad right now. Like, because listen, and I love Soarin'. It's one of my favorite attractions ever. This one is Soarin' on steroids. It is. It's just an amazing attraction. So well done. So well themed. The queue is incredible. The pre-shows are phenomenal. Everything about it is great. There's nothing about it the technology is amazing. When you're in that room, if you look around while you're on the back of the Banshee, it looks like the Matrix. Like the way they design, it's amazing. So yeah, I think that is one of the, like I said, not only one of the coolest things in Animal Kingdom, but one of the coolest things in Disney parks anywhere. It's amazing.
So I agree, of course. I used to criticize people who would not agree with that. With other attractions. By now, I don't anymore, because if I have to be honest, if I am going to see theme park attractions as art, then art is in the eye of the beholder. So you can't necessarily just put down that somebody just, they think it's not the best. But
I can. It's my show.
I do believe that Flights of Passage is the best. However, everybody has upped their game in the theme park industry now.
Sure.
So will Flights of Passage be the best attraction in the world much longer? Probably not. Probably not even within a year. They won't be the best attraction because now everybody's upping their game. But for right now, I do believe that it actually does. It does beat the Disney's past best rides in the past decade, and to be honest, Universal's, because to be honest, like the Harry Potter rides and stuff, I think were actually the best rides in the past few years. But yes, it is at the moment the best theme park attraction, I would say, in the world.
It is. And again, I'm passionate about it because that's who I am. I'm crazy.
And I got to ride it twice last week. Last week, it was dead here. I don't know if there are people, I know there's people that we know that listen that were here this week, and this week is back to being busy apparently. But last week, it was dead.
Yeah,
I went twice, and I had to go on both Pandora rides without a line in the evening.
Yeah, I had clients there last week who said the same thing, and we're just like, "What happened? Isn't it busy?" It was like a weird thing where
it's between Easter and between the marathon.
Yeah, and your blackout dates were lifted, right? So that was
right, but that's why I thought it wasn't going to be. So I went the first night that the blackout was lifted to the Magic Kingdom, and the Magic Kingdom was a ghost town. I mean, an absolute ghost town. The last 3 hours of operation on Sunday night.
Yeah, well, we went right before Easter, and it was like a madhouse everywhere.
Oh, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that's when it was blacked out for locals, and it was like I had a friend there who I think I said this on a podcast already, but 180-minute wait for It's a Small World. 180 minutes. Are you nuts? Like, you got to have a plan. You can't go in and wait 180 minutes for Small World. You can't.
I mean, I would definitely go to Disney Springs and see a movie. I don't understand.
Well, if you spent $7,000 on a vacation, you can't. But that's why I tell people. I put out a show a couple weeks ago about planning and about not waiting in line for like that. Like that's an insane line to wait in. You figure it out. There are ways to plan that you don't have to wait in lines like that. Anyway, all right. So I had my last, and this is kind of this is a cop out. My last one.
Okay.
My last best of Animal Kingdom in the first 20 years, and it's just the overall animal experiences of the park. It sounds like a cop out because it's encompassing a lot of things, but it's really not, right? So Animal Kingdom was built, and it's supposed to be, the original message was it's all about animals and conservation. That's why they actually chose Earth Day in 1998 for the opening of the park. And while the park, it's definitely morphed into more of a theme park over 20 years with roller coasters like Everest or high-tech thrills with Avatar Flight of Passage, and even with Na'vi River Journey, which I think is a super underrated attraction. Really, really underrated. I think it's so well done, so well themed. But I think the park has really stayed pretty close to its roots. That's kind of what Imagineers like Joe Rohde had originally intended it to be. It's still about the animals, like with Kilimanjaro Safaris, Maharaja Jungle Trek, Gorilla Falls. These are really, really cool places to go and to enjoy a little bit of like quiet time with the animals in as close to their natural habitats as possible, in Central Florida. So they went on that whole thing years and years and years ago, the whole ad campaign where it was not a zoo.
Not a zoo.
Right. And see, that accent's fun to do, even though it's Animal Kingdom. It's many things.
Commercial was on here all the time.
Oh yeah.
Back then, we didn't have DVRs, so we actually had to watch the commercial over and over and over again.
Yeah, and it was on the Disney Resort TV channel too. It was just looped, and it was, Disney's Animal Kingdom is many things, but one thing it's not a zoo. But it is actually a certified zoo, like it is. So while it's a theme park and it has all these thrills and these attractions, dinosaur and all that, it is still a certified zoo. So like even little things like the Discovery Island trails and the exhibit with the monkeys over near Expedition Everest, they have all these little places where you're going to be walking and like that little the macaw show that they do on Discovery Island. There's little things that you'll be walking through the park and, head into Everest or head into Safari, and you'll stop so you can sit and watch what the animals are up to for a couple minutes. I love the park. I always have. I said it's kind of like near and dear to my heart because it's the first park I ever worked in. So I just think they've done a really good job of staying close to the roots while making it like a world-class theme park. So, yeah, that was my last great thing about the park.
Well, then a perfect chance to end with a humongous disagreement, because I completely disagree with you. I don't think that myself or anyone I ever talk to on a regular basis could care less that it's about animals anymore, just like we don't care about World Showcase teaching us about countries anymore unless we're eating or drinking from each country. So if it was me, I would replace all the animal exhibits with new rides based on Disney films.
Oh, totally disagree.
Animals that we have not seen yet. So like put a Bambi ride, a dark ride, put something, all other rides, a Zootopia land, go for it. Change Dinotopia to Indiana Jones, go for it.
Get out of here. I can't agree with you.
I know I like to say crazy to be harsh, but the truth is I've never been emotionally connected to the animal concept that much. So no, I don't hear people talk or care about the animals when they actually go. It is all about the attractions, especially since they upped their game with Pandora. And I think little by little, just like Epcot, it's going to start replacing animals, the animal theme or the animal story more and more.
I couldn't disagree with you more.
I know, and I respect that. I do, because I know technically, I'm not the kind of person that thinks all animals should be, off the face of the earth. I think the opposite. I just think that.
God, I hope not.
I just thought from day one. No, there should be at least a few of every single species all over the place. But no, I've always felt from day one that the obsession with it being a zoo and conservation and teaching us about animals was not going to last. And in the past decade, the obsession in the whole theme park industry around the world, the whole entire entertainment industry, with being obsessed with IPs, has only proven to me that I don't think it'll last. I could see them building a Zootopia land. I could see them starting to. There'll always be animals. Obviously, and the safari takes up half of the entire
it's enormous.
Park real estate. Really,
it's huge.
And I don't think that will change. I'm surprised that people still find the safari ride fun, because I don't anymore. Now that it's all about looking at the animals and hearing how much they eat and poop every day. But but no, I really do think that it'll change. Maybe not as much as Epcot is changing, for example. Where Epcot, it's really obvious that it's all about the IPs and not about the actual country's cultures anymore, and it's all about the food and drink. But I do think it'll change even further than it has already.
It's also all about the bass, but no treble.
No treble.
Well, I think I see it through a little bit of a different lens. Because I have clients, right, that in my day job that come to me and they're all about the animals, or their kids are all about the animals, and they want to spend a lot of time. This isn't a rare thing for me to get a message from somebody saying, "Hey, listen, we want to make sure we spend a whole day with the animals, or we want to do a backstage tour so we can see the animals, their pens up close. We want to see the veterinarians." And that's a thing, and that happens a lot when people go to the parks, at least in my experience. So that's why I think the animals are still a really big deal there. But I get it. I get what you're looking at. I get, the Zootopia thing, put a land in there. I get it. I understand your point of view. I just disagree. But we're going to have to agree to disagree because...
But do you disagree that it's a good idea, or you disagree that it will happen, or both?
Both. I think it's a neat idea.
Because I assume that you would agree that it will probably happen.
I think the
regardless
stuff
of whether you think it's a bad idea or not.
Yeah, I think the stuff that they build, the additions that they will build in that park will be IP related. Absolutely. But I don't agree that they will get away from the animals.
You think look, there has never, remember, we both follow all the rumors and stuff. There is never a rumor anymore. In years, there has not been a rumor of anything new coming to that park that would actually include live animals that are not already there.
No, you're right. You're right. For years, we had that Australia rumor. That's no more. I don't hear about that one anymore.
I could see maybe if they do South America and they put an up ride and then there's a few species of South American animals next to the ride. That's about it. I could see maybe that.
I still want the unicorn ride and strap a horn on a couple of horses running around. That's what I want. Listen, we have a lot of horses in this country. We can.
I'm sure you fair. I'm sure this is fair.
Yeah, we can find some white ones to glue horns on their heads and have them run around.
I remember going to Ringling Brothers at Madison Square Garden when they did that.
One year. So that's so insane. So this is anyway. It's been an interesting talk, Chuck. I have to admit. Was it the?
Well, of course, because I'm the one you were talking to.
Well, this I'm going to put it out on Earth Day still, even though it wasn't exactly.
Even though it ends with me basically poo-pooing on Earth Day. No, I don't poop on Earth Day. I do like Earth Day itself.
Let me. I was talking about Joe Rohde a lot, and I've never told this story in the podcast, so I kind of want to end it with something kind of funny. But not that our conversation wasn't good, because our conversation was fantastic, and you make really, really good points that I just happen to disagree with. But I was thinking about. I told this. I on a Facebook post like a couple weeks ago when I was thinking about it, when I was thinking about Animal Kingdom, because when I used to work at Animal Kingdom back in the day, they were still fine-tuning the park, right? So I would see Joe Rohde every day almost. He'd be in the cafeteria, and if for those listeners who don't know who Joe Rohde is, he's the Imagineer that you see, and he always wears like the safari hat. He has the mustache.
One huge earring.
Yeah, the earrings that go down to like his shoulders. And he's like holes in his ears. He's the Imagineer that gets to do whatever he wants and doesn't have to follow Disney's rules. Like the beard and mustache rule years ago, you couldn't have a beard or a mustache. He did. You can never have visible earrings or piercings. He did.
I mean, to be honest, I always assumed Imagineers were exempt from that. It was just operations.
Yeah, you're right. But he was just so visible in the parks that I thought it was
most Imagineers are probably high while they're actually creating most of their rides, just like any artist.
Okay, so let's move on. So I used to see Joe Rohde all the time, and I never got to meet him because he was always busy, and I was a cast member, and I was on the low end, he was at the high end. So fast forward years later, I was out at D23 in California at the D23 Expo, and I was with my friend who works out in Disneyland in operations, and now he's an executive, and he's doing really well out there. But we were there, and he knew a lot of the Imagineers. So we're walking through the Pandora preview at the D23 Expo, and there's Joe Rohde. And I was like, man, I really want to meet Joe Rohde because I've never gotten to meet him. So he's like, yeah, let's go up and talk to him. And I was like, well, I don't want to bother him. And he's like, no, come on, we'll go talk to him. So we go up, and he's like, hey, this is my friend Phil. And Joe Rohde's like the nicest guy ever. And he's like, hey, nice to meet you. And I'm like, this is amazing. It was all the preview, and there's the Na'vi. There was a Na'vi figure that you could take a picture with on the way outside of the exhibit, on the way out of the exhibit. So I figured, it would be really neat if I got a picture of me and Joe Rohde with the Na'vi figure. So I said to my friend, do you think Joe would take a picture with me? And Joe overheard, and Joe said, sure. And he took my iPhone. Joe Rohde, the guy who designed the park, took my iPhone and took a picture of me solo with the Na'vi figure, and he handed me my phone back. And I was so like dumbfounded and like I didn't know what to do, so I just walked away. My friend was chasing me, and he was like, "Dude, you gotta! What are you doing? Like, go!" And I was like, "No, I feel dumb now." So if you see a picture of me with a Na'vi figure, Joe Rohde took that picture.
What's so funny is that you think that's a good and funny story.
So, Chuck, thank you for coming on the show once again.
Goodbye, folks. This is my last recording.
This is it. I hope you enjoyed it. Listen, those emails that come in now, between now and forever, I'm never responding
right
to them.
my Facebook page. I'd be happy to reply to every single one.
Thank you, Chuck, for being on. This is fun.
Thank you for inviting me again.
And that is going to do it for this week's episode of the Ear to There Disney podcast. Thank you once again to my friend Chuck for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this episode because it is, in fact, his last episode. Well, we'll think about that. Was it me or was Chuck extra cynical on this episode? I don't know. Anyway, thank you to Chuck, and thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy each and every episode that I put out there. It's hard to believe that Disney's Animal Kingdom is 20. I know I keep saying that, but man, where did half my life go? Hopefully it's not like half of my full life, 20 years. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. And if you did enjoy the episode, please just tell someone about it. Please just feel free to share this and any episode I put out there. It is greatly appreciated, as always. Okay, just remember there will be a new episode of the Ear to There Disney podcast each and every Monday, as well as a new episode of either the Word of the Week or It's a Food World each and every Wednesday. So thank you again so much for listening. Happy birthday to Disney's Animal Kingdom. Until next time, have yourself a phenomenal week. Bye-bye.